This is Magical Moments, hosted by your favorite holistic wellness practitioner, Carla Reeves. Started with gratitude, ended with love. Magical moments are waiting for us. You can be next if you heal up your trauma. Carla gonna tell you what you need to follow. Locking, we getting you ready. Setting intentions and taking the heavy thoughts that been holding you down. This is the show that you'll be glad you found. Come get your magical moment.
Hello and welcome back to Magical Moments. I am your host, Carla Reeves, and I am here with Kendal from InHer Power. I met Kendal online. She did one of my great moon cycle wellness challenges. She was a guest speaker and she spoke about all of her wonderful healing modalities and the things that she offered to you as the people. We really align and connected because a lot of what she does I do similarly, and it was great. It was like divine alignment. It was amazing. So I wanted to bring her on the podcast to go more in depth about what she does and how she does it. But I will let her introduce herself because, of course, she knows what she does better than I know what she does. So, Kendal, welcome.
Thank you, Carla. My name is Kendal, and yes, I have created a business called InHer Power. Basically, what I do is I'm a spiritual wellness coach. So I help folks who want to expand in their spiritual practices. Maybe they're new to spirituality and really don't know what to do, how to start. A lot of folks will come to me and say, "Well, I don't even know how to meditate." Um, some people will come and say, "Okay, I've started out with Christianity and I want to expand into something that's much more comprehensive and much more, I guess, if they're curious about wanting to explore more for something that's deeper, more true to who they are, more authentic to who they are." And so then, I guide folks. I've done workshops, sound healing workshops, guided meditation workshops. Really, I'm all about spiritual wellness. This is something that I've been doing all of my life. It's my life's work. My very first spiritual teacher was my mom and still is my mom. So, um, yeah, I love all things spirituality. I love talking about it. It's something that I'm super passionate about. And so I trained in a bunch of different modalities, shamanism, Reiki, crystals, like I said, sound therapy, crystal healing, all sorts of things, even dance therapy. So yeah, that's if I could capsulate it in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Awesome. That is amazing. That's a lot of what I do. And I love that your first spiritual teacher was your mother. A
Hmm.
lot of people, they don't really have that. They're kind of out there trying to figure it out on their own, and just really don't know where to turn or what to do. So I'm glad that they have someone like you.
Hmm.
Um, one of my, what out as you were speaking, my first question just kind of popped into my mind because both of us, we kind of have people that come to us from Christianity or some other religion, and is starting to explore spirituality. So, can you talk a little bit more about that and how you deal with that sort of client, that soul that's, really rooted in their faith, but wants to kind of explore more, but might be a little bit hesitant because, as we know in the Bible, a lot of what we do can be considered like evil and demonic and all that good stuff. So, how do you navigate that?
Well, usually, um, people that I speak with have enough of an interest and a curiosity about spirit. Like I'll call it expanded spirituality, so that maybe they heard about meditation, or I don't know, maybe a friend took them to like a sound bath or whatever, and they had an experience that was transformative enough for them to be curious, but then it's kind of like, to your point, well, is this bad? Is this not aligned with God, or however they want to frame it? And usually what I tell people is, believe it or not, I mean, I've read, I didn't read all the Bible, but I've read many, many parts of the Bible. And what I always tell people is like, the teachings of Jesus are steeped in spirituality. Now you got to tease out all the other stuff, but a lot of what he's talking about are these spiritual practices and elevating consciousness. And I think the story of him is really the evolution of how to liberate yourself spiritually. So I may be able to take like certain Bible verses if they're really familiar with certain Bible verses and I'll be like, okay, this is actually what it's explaining. I can kind of break it down and translate it to like, well, what he's saying here or what the scripture is saying here can actually be translated into this. Now, someone has to be open enough. That's why it's important that someone's already kind of cracked that door a little bit to be like, well, I'm kind of curious because if you don't have any curiosity, then it makes it very difficult because then you're going to challenge everything and kind of rebuff all the stuff. And so if there's enough of a, okay, I think that seems aligned and that makes sense, then you can really explore some deeper spiritual work. And I tell people you don't necessarily have to give up your religion if this is something that you really, really feel that is supporting you. You could just do this on your own to enhance what it is that you believe in. And you don't gotta like tell the world. You ain't gotta be like, well, I'm lighting can it's like
Exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
just keep it for yourself. But also, I let people know that a lot of our ancestral lineage, I was talking about this actually on TikTok, is I think the popularity of hoodoo has been rising because of the movie Sinners. And so a lot of stuff I see on social media is people talking about hoodoo and things like that. And our ancestors were practicing that. They didn't call it that, but it was how do I take this information, how do I take these practices that are innately within me, like I feel connected to this. So much of like superstitions that we have as Black folks are really based in just like our natural spiritual connection with the divine.
Yep.
But then you kind of overlay it a little bit with Christianity just to kind of keep it easy peasy for the ancestors. So there's already that kind of integration that we have naturally. But I think it's just allowing people to understand that you don't have to completely abandon one to go to the other. And truthfully, spiritual practices can be something that you evolve and explore over time. I really look at it as like you're seeking truth. I always tell people like I'm a seeker of truth. I've explored so many different religions, ideologies, practices, and I take bits and pieces of things and I just formulate what works for me. So I just I support people in whatever their journey is, whatever they feel comfortable with, and I guide them and we kind of basically create our own little self-care, self-love spiritual plan.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Because I tell everyone, your spiritual journey is really your journey. Not everyone's journey looks the same because everyone's experience is different. Even Christians, two Christians may not believe the exact same thing. Two, Muslims may not believe the exact same thing. It's your journey and your closeness with whoever you believe in as your higher power. So do what feels right for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely aligns. Can you talk a little bit more about your journey and how you kind of started? I know you said your mother was your first teacher. So when did she start teaching you? Was it something from a very young age? Did you, get older and, she's like, oh, hey, this is what we do. Talk a little bit more about that.
Oh man, it's funny. I was just talking about this with a good friend of mine, my bestie yesterday. It's I People will ask me like, so when did you start? And it's like I can't find a starting point. My earliest memories, um, I was born in Pennsylvania, and so my early childhood was there, and I would be in the backyard. I love being outside. I love trees. I'm just such a nature buff. And so I would be outside talking to the trees, talking to squirrels, and I had a feeling and a sense that I was talking to something that was around me, like a presence. I could never put a name on it. I didn't ever call it God. I just was like, this is my friend. So that's what I did. And then as I got older, there wasn't really any. introduction. My mom, she kind of broke the mold in that my grandmother was a PK, but she really didn't she wasn't like a church grandmother, so I didn't have any experience of any sort of church. Now, it's in me and it's in my extended family. I come from a line of preachers and teachers, but my grandmother really just was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to do this." And I think that created a space for my mother to then explore things on her own. So by the time I came into the picture, she had already had crystals and she had already had like I remember we would go places and she would have like she would buy like paintings of like sacred geometry, um or we would go to like spiritual stores, and it was just kind of, I'm her daughter, so she would just take me along, and I just thought it was normal. Like somebody who goes to church with their parents, you're just like, okay, this is normal. Like you're just going
Yeah.
to a spiritual store and then you get like a tarot deck and you're like, okay, well, how do I do this? Now, my mom she's not very formalized, kind of like me, in that she won't say like, well, this is what I practice. It's just saying I like this, I like that. I kind of was, ooh, I like tarot. Let me explore that. Oh, these are crystals. I want to know about that. Oh, this is like, I was into sacred geometry. So there was this one crystal store that we would just go to quite a bit by our house. And we would go it was kind of like our church. We would go every Saturday, and they would always have like a leading guided meditation or guided meditation by a couple of people. And it just expanded from there. I just became more and more curious. I, I'm, I really truly believe that I was born to do this because anybody else could have just stopped there and been like, well, I'm good with that. But
Mhm.
I was like, no, I want to know more. And I'll never forget, like, this was before obviously Google and all the things, but we had encyclopedias, and I would just read the section. It was like a whole book that was about the different type of religions. And I read about Buddhism at like 10. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I was like, that sounds cool. I just, there was something, I can't remember what exactly I was reading that was so appealing about it, but it was just, it felt like a calling to me. Now, I didn't really dive deep into Buddhism, but I just bounced around to a lot of different things. And so, yeah, I think it's ultimately what's always been at the core is my relationship with the divine, with spirit, source, God, everything, and following that nudge. And I'll feel pulled like, okay, maybe I'm curious about this, I'll go down this route. And then spirit's leading me down here. And at first it just kind of was like, well, I don't know why I'm doing all of these different things. But as have gotten older, all of those things have been like stones along my path. Every single thing that I have learned has helped me in some way, shape, or form, and then I can pass that along to other people. So yeah, it when I say it's really like my life, it's been all of my life. I can't see the two as being separate.
I love that. That is such a blessing because a lot of us, we kind of come to it late,
Yeah.
especially if we don't have, someone. And my family, we're actually very spiritual, but, back then it was more like hush hush. So I never really grew up with you know, I grew up with a little bit, I've watched, but I was never like formally taught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit to In Her Power. And can we talk about how you started it? What was that little seed that was like, this needs to be a thing? What was your passion that kind of like drove that forward?
Yeah. So I used to have a YouTube channel with my family, and we would do like family vlogs. And I decided, well, it wasn't even a decision. It was kind of, I want to share something that's personal to me, that's not just like vlogs and showing day-to-day life. I wanted to talk about spirituality, which is what I'm passionate about. And so I created a series called Fearless Love. And it was just me sharing these are the skills and practices that I've learned. Here is, I'm going to share it with you. At that time, I was really, really deep into the chakras. And so I just spent most of my time like talking about that. But then there was also the bleeding of, or bleeding into mental health, and talking about how, from my experience, spirituality and mental health were kind of one and the same. And I was linking the two because at the time, I didn't see a lot of content that was necessarily like bridging that gap. Um, and so as I continue to do Fearless Love videos, which at the time when I was making them weren't really popular on our channel, but I kept making them. And then this was around kind of like the early 2000s, I want to say it was like 2013 or something. Well, maybe that's mid. I don't even, well, early 2000. It's like 2013, 2014. And I said, maybe I can make this a business. Maybe I can make this something that I do where, like I was saying, the guided meditations, I can talk about chakras, I can talk about all of these things. I was trained as a kind of like a earth-based shaman with one of my teachers for many, many years. And ultimately, what I wanted to do was similar to what you were just saying. When I was growing up, it was not cool to talk about spirituality. Like you would be really, really ostracized. So if I did ever talk about it, now it was also kind of like on the flip side, there was popularity of like the craft. And so people were like really interested in witchcraft, but that was like mostly like the white girls. And so um I I wanted to be able to have people who could talk about expanded spirituality that looked like me. Because my mom and I would go to these, like I said, we would go to guided meditations, we go to this crystal store, and most of the time we were the only Black people in the group. And it would be like, 20, 30 people. We would go to so many events and it was just us, or maybe one or two other people, and mostly men, Black men, which was very interesting. But um yeah, it just I wanted to be able to find a way to share what I felt was like the skills and the practices and the tools that I could see these white people were doing, that I was like, this is clearly us. And I wanted to give it back in a way where, like I said, someone looking like me could talk about their spirituality, could talk about their fears, um, because talking about that with someone, I've had spirit experiences where you're talking about your spirituality, you're talking about your struggles, and if you're talking to a white person, whether that's a man or a woman, they may not understand. They don't understand your history, they don't understand your lineage. And so now you're having to kind of like unpack things and do all this other, it was like it was a lot. And I said, I wanted to create something that I wish that I had, where I just had somebody like my mom or whoever that I could talk to and just help guide me along my path if I was interested in something. And so that's really how InHer Power was born. And initially, my vision was to have it as like a skill share. I wanted it to be a group of my friends who are like, at the time was like three, four women, including my mom. And you're the master at Reiki, you're the master at yoga, you're the master at this.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could like all get together and then have workshops and then tell people at all ages and all spans, and I wanted to focus specifically on Black women, including women of trans experience, to be like, hey, these are the skills, these are the tools that have helped us, and this has helped us to be able to have a stable foundation for our spirituality and our mental health. So let's share that skill with you. Let's share that information and that knowledge with you, and then you can take that and pass it along to other people as well. Um, but it didn't really pan out that way. Everyone else was like, yeah, but they had their kind of own things that they wanted to do, and so it was just me. And I could tell like spirit was like, this is really about you. Like you don't bring other people in. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. So I kept churning away at it and yeah, just putting myself out there and just sharing whatever it is that I learned. So that's kind of how Inner Power got started.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that you was trying to build a community at first. It seems like a lot of us, and maybe I'll just speak for myself, but I know a few people who are trying to do the same thing and like build a community and have different modalities. And for one reason or another, it kind of like falls apart. And I don't know why or where that happens, or, it just seems like it's it's hard to do.
Yeah.
I do think it's definitely needed, but it's just finding the right people, I guess. Maybe even if it's not the core business structure, incorporating it somehow into like hosting an event maybe once a year where especially people of color can come together and do their different modalities, and there isn't any like strife or competition or anything like that, and we all just come together as a community and really just heal each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are your kind of like your, I don't want to say your most common services that you offer, but like what's one of your featured services? I'll say that.
Hmm. Um, it's kind of a combination of guided meditation and sound healing. So when I was actually working, because I took a break for a while, so now I'm kind of revamping it where I'm actually working with folks. But when I was working with people consistently and doing workshops, um, it was sound healing wasn't quite popular at the time. It was just kind of emerging in our zeitgeist, and people were like, "This is amazing!" Like for people who were maybe meditating already, if for them it felt like they were experiencing something deeper or more expanded, and so I got more. It just seemed like I got more feedback that that was something that people wanted more of. So I focused a lot on that. So when I would work with people one on one, what I would usually do is we would start with a guided meditation. I had a massage table that people would lay on, and I'd put a blanket over them. And so it's quiet and it's peaceful. And so, we're dropping down into the body. And then I would usually start off with like a drum because then it would feel like a heartbeat. So then that's way we can ground ourselves. The drum is a very grounding sort of sound and element, and I would move that all around, and just the vibration of the drum, like people could be like, oh, like I felt something move through me. And then I would move on to sometimes like tuning forks, and then I would actually like place the stem of the fork on different points of the body, like maybe different chakra points, or usually I would point them at the feet so that whatever energy could come out through the feet or the top of the head. And I found a technique of using singing bowls as like a, how do I say this? Sort of like a diagnostic tool. So I would play the singing bowls, and maybe I would hit one bowl and the sound would be muffled. And I'd hit another bowl and that one just boom, it would like resound. The sound would be so loud. And I would always write down the placement of the bowls. So I would know, okay, this one is for this chakra, this one is for this chakra. And I would be taking notes as like I'm playing the bowls. I'm like, okay, this one is connected to your sacral chakra, and this one is really, really beaming, which to me, spirit would say that's the chakra that they need to work on the most, which is
Mhm.
why that sound was emanating so much. And then another one wouldn't be as much as like, okay, well, we don't need to work on the third eye. So that bowl wouldn't really even ding. I'd have to kind of really work it to get any sound out. And so I was realizing like, oh, I'm using this as a diagnostic tool. And so it was really interesting to be able to talk about that because I don't know what their experiences would be or what they would necessarily come to me for. Sometimes we wouldn't necessarily go that in depth in the very beginning,
Mhm.
but as I would tell them afterwards, I was like, okay, well, this bowl resonated the most and it was related to this chakra. And so then I would tell them like something, okay, this is the chakra that's related to this and this energy. And they'd be like, that's what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with that thing. And I'd be like, well, yeah, okay.
I love those aha moments of like,
Yeah,
yeah, see, this does work.
it does. It does. And I love sound therapy. I would always end particularly a sound healing workshop with us using our voices. So I'd always do like a guttural hum because
Mhm.
I was like, because they would be like, I want to come to all the time and I want to do this all the time. I was like, okay, wonderful. If that's not possible, or in between the times we can work together, use your voice, hum. And if the humming is resonant and low enough, it's going to vibrate all throughout your body. And that energy is going to kind of move all that stuck energy, all that vibration coming through your vocal cords is going to move all that energy through. So then I would kind of help them do certain like humming exercises that they could do. So I would say definitely like sound healing is the one. And if of course now it's just like really popular. People want to do sound bowls
Yeah,
all like all
yeah,
the time.
absolutely. Have you used vibrational bowls at all? The ones that you place on the body and you hit it and it sounds and vibrates throughout the whole body?
So I have one like it's like a Tibetan bowl,
Hmm.
which are like the metal ones. I have one and it's small and I would place it on people, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. There are two things that I want to do. That I want to have those vibrational bowls where I can actually place them on people's bodies.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to do is do it in a pool where
Oh, I've
people
done
are
that.
floating
I've done
on.
that.
Yes. How was that for you? How was that
It
experience?
was it was an amazing experience. I definitely want to do it again. I haven't done it here in South Carolina. I've done it in New York, but I it's definitely something I want to do even if I travel and do it. There's this app called Swimply, which is like an Airbnb for pools where you could rent out different pools.
What?
Yes. So that's what I've been using and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I absolutely love doing it. I haven't done it with another sound healer, and I want to do it where we're playing off of each other,
Yeah.
and we're both playing, and people, oh, yeah,
We got to do that.
yes,
We got to do that.
yeah,
Oh
do
my
it.
gosh, I would love to. Oh my gosh, I want to do that so bad.
All right, people, you heard it. It's coming. We're going to collaborate. We're going to get this done.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's a phenomenal experience. People, I have a couple of air mattresses, and people just lie down. I also have some pool floaties, depending on how many
Mhm.
people, want to attend. And they just lie down and they just,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's great. It's awesome. The first
Mm.
time I did it though, I did not have the air mattresses or the pool floaties. People were kind of just, lounging by the pool, or in the pool and just floating on their own.
Mhm.
But I want to, make it a little bit more and amp it up a little. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That'd be so great.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. We'll talk after this.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what is one piece of advice? I know you mentioned the humming, to kind of help resonate, but what's one piece of advice that you would give to the listeners, to kind of help them on their journey? And it could be anything.
Hmm. I think I would say stick with the practice for a while. Like
Yeah.
so many people say, well, I've meditated for like a week and it didn't work. I'm like, a week?
A week.
Uh, and listen, my meditative practice has been, like I said, since I was a kid. So it changes. The two things I would tell people is like try different things and make sure that you take time trying them because you're not gonna, it's kind of like any medicine. It has to get into your body, it has to get into your system. And if you think about how long you've been operating one way it's going to take a while for that new thing to integrate into your body, into your daily life. And so you got to keep at it for a while before you can start to really see results. And most of those times, those results are so subtle in the beginning. So you got to like pay attention and slow down.
Yeah.
That's that's one. And I know you said one, but I want to say another one, which is
Give as many as you like.
which is to be open to your practice changing. Like I was saying with the meditation, um, not everybody can do, and there are times for myself, a sitting practice is not going to cut it. Like sitting
Mhm.
down and close my eyes, it don't work. Like sometimes my mind is all over the place. So I've learned, okay, sound bowls can work. I can do play sound bowls for even playing for myself, I can get into a trance. Um, or sometimes dancing. Dancing is a great meditative practice for me. I was running for a period of time, or just walking, hiking, sitting outside. If I can be present, if it's something that helps me to be present, and I consider that to be a meditative practice because I'm like everything is shoom, just right there in the present moment. So being open to your practices changing and evolving because you're changing and evolving constantly as you grow. And so, yeah, it may not work for you right now, but it could work for you later, or something that you're doing now. You're getting frustrated because you're like, oh, meditation was doing great. And now all of a sudden it's not working for me. Okay, then change it up, find something else that works and stick with it. See how it works.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how in sync we are because it's the same thing I tell people is meditation isn't always just, sitting down with your legs crossed, crisscross applesauce, and, being silent.
Right.
Sometimes meditation is walking, it's dancing, it's, whatever brings you into the present moment and gets you out of your head. That's what meditation is.
Yeah.
And to find the practice that's for you. So it's like spot on how in sync we are. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. My last question to you, I ask all my guests, is what does a magical moment look like for you?
A magical moment looks like for me, anytime I have this like beautiful moment where it's like me and spirit are just vibing, and I can feel the energy and I can feel the connection. It's hard to articulate into words, but whether I'm most of the time I'll be driving because I drive a lot. I live in Atlanta and constantly on the road all the time in traffic. And so I'm talking to spirit out loud, like I'm talking to you. And it's like there'll be epiphanies that'll come to me. And suddenly I'm like, I gotta think about that. So I'm like taking a voice note, or when I'm at work, I'm writing something down. But a magical moment is just anytime that there's that connection, that spirit with, or that connection with me in spirit. And I I feel like this wave of love. I feel this wave of awareness. I feel connected to all different parts of me, past, future, ancestors. It's just like it's just a beautiful, beautiful moment. And I've taken so much time to cultivate that relationship. So yeah, it's many moments, but it's just like a singular moment of when I'm just me and spirit are just vibing.
Aw, that's beautiful. I love that. That is great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So that is the end of our episode, everyone. Please join in and reach Kendal. Kendal, tell everyone where you're located. I know you said you're in Atlanta. Tell everyone where they could reach you.
So my website is www.inherpower.space. So you can find me there on my website. And through there, I have my links to all my social medias. But with Instagram, it's like InHer_power. TikTok, InHer Power. And those are really the two platforms that I use the most. I write blogs. I do have content and stuff that I'm putting up. I'm actually putting up a course on my website. So Yeah, if you go to the website, it's pretty much going to have all the updated information there.
Awesome. I'll have the website in the description bar. So just click that and go check out Kendal. And as always, start with gratitude, end with love, and find your magical moment. And I'll see you next time.
Bye.